Hello and welcome to Future Self Dreaming. My name is Carlos Kukulkan. In the last week or so, as I've been putting together this presentation, I was made aware of a planetary event occurring today, January the 12th, 2020, involving a rare quadruple conjunction of Saturn, Pluto, Mercury and the Sun. In tracking my own inner process over the past few weeks since the solstice, during a phase of solar and lunar eclipses leading up to today's alignment, it seems that what has been running itself through my nervous system has been related to a theme of collective grief experienced by Indigenous people of Australia and those of us connected to the heart of this country. The bushfires that we are currently experiencing and the mismanagement of the water systems in Australia are undoubtedly a major contributing factor to this experience of collective grief. Yet I also feel that this is part of a much bigger unfolding pattern that is only beginning to reveal itself. In the lead up to today's celestial alignment, I have been obsessively writing about previous mystical experiences that I've had during these types of planetary transitions, and the messages I have been reading online about what is to take place today seemed appropriate and related to this theme. What I have been reading states that Aboriginal lore tells of a ritual back in the dream time that was interrupted and never completed, which was meant to fulfill the great plan of the Earth Spirit. According to Robert Kuhn, author of The Rainbow Serpent and the Holy Grail, this powerful activation will also involve a blast of divine light and energy through the song lines of the planet, connecting all of Earth's main chakras together, and most especially one of the main energy arteries or song lines referred to by the Aboriginal people as the Rainbow Serpent, which starts at Uluru. The previously interrupted ceremony will culminate in the reactivation of the solar umbilical cord of planet Earth with the Sun, and on deeper levels with the Great Central Sun or the galactic core. In some of my earlier presentations, I have elaborated on the unfolding of personal discoveries about my relationship to the morning star or Venus, and how following my intrigue into this mystery has led to initiations in various ancient temple sites around the world. This was the early beginning of remembering a personal connection to ancient initiatory cults and the mystery schools of serpent wisdom that involve Kundalini awakening. More recently, I shared an experience I'd had with the energy of the Rainbow Serpent, otherwise known as the Kundalini of the Earth, and the relationship with Venus, the morning star, whilst I was visiting Broken Hill in outback Australia. And today I wish to share a synchronicity that occurred for me in relation to the experiences I had when Venus eclipsed the face of the Sun earlier this millennia. In the lead up to the galactic alignment prophesied by the Mayan calendar, December 21st solstice of 2012, I became aware of the celestial alignments that Venus was also undergoing during this transitional phase. In June of 2004, there was to be the first of two eclipses where Venus transited across the face of the Sun. Transits of Venus are among the rarest of predictable astronomical phenomena and currently occur in a pattern that repeats every 243 years, with pairs of transits 8 years apart, separated by long gaps of 121.5 years and 105.5 years. Before 2004, the last pair of transits were in December 1874 and December 1882. The first of a pair of transits of Venus in the beginning of the 21st century took place on the 8th of June 2004 and again on the 6th of June 2012. It is worth noting that in recent recorded history, these transits seem to have a correspondence with changes in human consciousness, in particular the development of technology that allows communication. The telephone was invented in 1876, in the time frame during the 8 years between transits, and more recently the iPhone that has merged the telephone with the internet was released in 2007, again in between this 8-year window of Venus transits. At the beginning of 2004, I had attended the sacred geometry template ceremonies And at that time, I decided that I needed to be in Bali during the first of these 2 eclipse events in 2004 to sit atop a volcano. I arrived in Bali the week before to explore many of the temple complexes, and in the lead up to the eclipse, I became very sick. As is often the case with these types of energetic events, it occurred to me that the sickness I was experiencing was some type of energetic clearance in preparation for the transmission of the Venetian energies amplified by the solar rays of the sun. Although as I was very fatigued, I decided that I'd come all that way for the event to sit atop that volcano and perform a small ceremony, so I trekked on. During the alignment, I sat quietly and said the prayers of Black Elk, due to my affinity with his relationship to the morning star. This prayer I shall speak now. Grandfather, Great Spirit, you have always been, and before you no one has been. There is no other one to pray to but to you. You yourself, everything that you see, everything that has been made by you. The star nations all over the universe you have finished. The 4 quarters of the earth you have finished. The day, and in that day, everything you have finished. Grandfather, Great Spirit, lean close to the earth that you may hear the voice I send. You towards where the sun goes down, behold me. Thunder beings, behold me. You where the white giant lives in power, behold me. You where the sun shines continually, whence come the daybreak star and the day, behold me. You where the summer lives, behold me. You in the depths of the heavens, an eagle of power, behold. And you, Mother Earth, the only mother, you who have shown mercy to your children. Hear me, 4 quarters of the world, a relative I am. Give me the strength to walk the soft earth, a relative to all that is. Give me the eyes to see and the strength to understand, that I may be like you. With your power only can I face the winds. Great Spirit, my grandfather, all over the world, the faces of living things are all alike. With tenderness have these come up out of the ground. Look upon these faces of children without number, and with children in their arms, that they may face the winds and walk the good road towards the day of quiet. This is my prayer, hear me. The voice I have sent is weak, yet with earnestness I have sent it, hear me. In the days after this event, I reacquainted myself over lunch with one of the architects of the template, and what was shared with me was a revelation that had been realized during the Venus eclipse about the disturbance of the planets within our solar system and the influence of the moon on Earth's relationship with the transmissions of source consciousness emanating upon the rays of solar light from our sun. A number of years went by, and as I have outlined in previous presentations, I later found myself facilitating these sacred geometry ceremonies known as the template. In June of 2012, during the second Venus eclipse, I was at home on my friend Paul's property in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales. I had originally intended to ingest some magic mushrooms and take a walk on the sacred mountain of Wollumben during the eclipse. However, plans for the day changed after I found myself quite fatigued after having been travelling and facilitating workshops before the event. As tends to be the case, often when we let go of our best laid plans and trust the flow of energy, synchronicity begins to arise in our awareness. That morning, while resting at home, I decided to watch a documentary by filmmaker Jay Widener called Kubrick's Odyssey. The movie explores the esoteric messages that filmmaker Stanley Kubrick has embedded within several of the films that he made throughout his lifetime, one of these being his epic science fiction classic 2001: A Space Odyssey. Throughout the documentary, Jay Widener explores the concept referred to as the Great Work within alchemy. The Great Work is the idea within alchemical traditions that the designers of great masterpieces of art have embedded within their art the initiations, explanations, and rituals of alchemy. Throughout time, the Great Work has been embedded within the majestic geometric designs of cathedrals and temples in such a way that even the uninitiated would be transformed by the awe of an encounter with their structure. They have also been embedded within the art of the likes of Leonardo da Vinci and the plays of William Shakespeare, who was most likely a group of writers rather than a single man who collectively formed a society known as the Spear Shakers, a reference to the goddess Athena, whose image is depicted with a spear. J. Widener elaborates that the great work is designed to accomplish the transformation of the human spirit from barbaric to angelic through these great works of art, and that 2001: A Space Odyssey is one of these masterpieces that evokes all the aspects of the great work of alchemy. J. Widener's documentary, called Kubrick's Odyssey, is made in 2 parts, with the first section exploring the possibility of Kubrick's involvement in faking the Apollo moon landing. The evidence that is put forth is pretty convincing, looking at the film techniques that were available at the time and many of the strange anomalies that reveal themselves in the Apollo footage related to this style of filming that Kubrick used. It also appears that in Stanley Kubrick's film depiction of Stephen King's novel The Shining, starring Jack Nicholson, that Kubrick has modified the storyline and embedded a range of mysterious additions that reveal his involvement in the NASA moon landing hoax through the course of the film. The suggestion by Widener is that due to Kubrick's involvement in this scam, he was basically given the budget needed to work on his alchemical masterpiece 2001: A Space Odyssey. In the same manner as other alchemists who have embedded their alchemical works into art, Kubrick has done so using the medium of film. The alchemical themes embedded in 2001 are utilised as a means of accelerating human consciousness, and J. Widener reveals Kubrick is a master alchemist. This artistic medium of film is that which he uses to transmit the symbolic, mythic messages into the mind of the observer. I highly advise watching Kubrick's Odyssey. I don't want to explain everything within it, but for the purposes of elaborating on my own personal synchronicity, I need to describe some of the main ideas presented within. And I apologise in advance, but for the next few minutes I will quote directly from some of J. Widener's work in the documentary to describe the main themes that he identifies. J. Widener describes that one of the main tenets of alchemy is that planetary and celestial alignments cause dramatic events to occur on Earth. One of the most dramatic of alchemical alignments are solar and lunar eclipses. In 2001: A Space Odyssey, these magical celestial alignments are dotted throughout the film and hold a key to the main theme. From the very beginning of the film, there is a magic moment where 3 worlds line up, indicating that something amazing is about to happen. But what is the major event that occurs on Earth because of the lunar eclipse? J. Widener believes that it is the film itself that is being conjured by this magical alignment depicted in the opening scene of the film. Over time, the title 2001 appears, and the lunar eclipse precedes it like an astrological celestial marker. Through the film, Kubrick is telling us flat out that the sun, moon, and stars are directing our destiny. Kubrick uses alchemical allegories throughout the film. The obvious analogies are the celestial alignments that precede each of the alchemical transmutations in the film. The second main allegory is that of a black stone that initiates these transmutations. Widener continues to identify that when one considers the entire film, it becomes apparent that this is the story of the black monolith. He explains that the word monolith comes from the Greek mon and lith, mon meaning one and lith meaning stone. So the monolith is a direct reference to one stone. And in this case, Kubrick has made sure that the stone is black, for in alchemy all things that exist come from the black stone, or the prima materia. The black stone is the stone of transformation. This is the philosopher's stone. This is the object that can change or transmute mankind according to alchemical law. It is rare, and when it makes an appearance, it transforms the seeker. There is little doubt that the black monolith in 2001 is the philosopher's stone. What is it that the philosopher's stone promises? The 2 main gifts of the stone are total gnosis, or knowledge, of the seeker and the immortality of the soul. J. Widener continues to explain mystical knowledge related to stages or realms that are encountered through the journey within the Kabbalistic tree of life. He explains that in the final realm of the Kabbalah, the seeker can swim in the ocean of the mind of God, which is represented by the Sephiroth named Kether. This state of awareness is like the Samadhi state in the yogic tradition. It can only be attained by very few people. In the case of the film, the final realm of the Tree of Life can only be attained by one man named Bowman, and this can be done only with the help of the monolith or the stone. J. Widener uses a book called Mysteries of the Cathedrals by Fulcanelli that points out quite clearly that once one understands the key, the fourth realm of the Tree of Life is physically represented by the very centre of our galaxy, the Milky Way. The four spheres are thus the Earth, Moon, Sun, and Galaxy. In the final sequence of the film, Kubrick very consciously shows a galaxy that is expanding and growing like an organism. Throughout the film, Kubrick brings the viewer through the four realms of the Tree of Life, all brilliantly evoked in the right pattern with intricate knowledge of the Kabbalah. In the final scenes, real information is being passed to the character Bowman by the monolith, the black stone. This information is experiential and shamanic. The stone has given Bowman the gifts that the Philosopher's Stone has always promised. Bowman achieves complete gnosis or knowledge and becomes immortal by overcoming physical death and being reborn. In that moment, he passes through the monolith one last time, and the Earth is ahead of him, and he will be reborn on the planet after journeying to the centre of the galaxy. One of the major mysteries that J. Widener unravels is about the true nature of the monolith. He identifies that the monolith doesn't show up in the film for more than 10 minutes after the first celestial alignment in the opening sequence. He highlights that the ultimate trick of Kubrick is embedded in the idea that the monolith must appear after every one of the magical celestial alignments, and therefore the secret of the film is completely revealed from the beginning. There is a monolith that appears right under everyone's nose after the opening sequence with the magical lunar eclipse. And where is it? It's right in front of the viewer's eyes. The monolith and the movie are the same thing. When you turn the black monolith on its side, it has the same rectangular dimensions as the black cinema screen on which the alchemical images are being transmitted, enabling entry into the viewer's mind. The monolith also represents the cube of space, or the container of creation in alchemy. The cube of space is this container that holds reality. Kubrick originally intended for the object in the film to be a tetrahedral pyramid, but changed it to the black rectangular monolith. Kubrick reveals that he understands the great work. The monolith represents the Philosopher's Stone, the book of nature, and the film that initiates it. Using powdered silver nitrates glued onto a strip of plastic that is then projected onto the movie screens of our minds, Kubrick has proven himself to be the ultimate alchemist artist of the late 20th century. J. Widener shows that Kubrick is actually telling us that the monolith is the film, and conversely, the film is the monolith. The movie screen is that which has transmitted the alchemical message. So, with all these factors that J. Widener has identified about the alchemical coding within the movie in mind, the black monolith representing the Philosopher's Stone that leads to gnosis, accompanied with celestial alignments that alter human consciousness as the central tenant of alchemy. Well, with all this in mind, after watching the movie, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I found that my friend Paul had left me something on a table outside my cabin. And what I discovered were two dark black rectangular pieces of glass. These immediately struck me due to the exact same shape and colour as the monolith from Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. And when I asked my friend Paul what they were, he explained that it was glass that fit perfectly into a welding mask that he had left for me so that I could view the eclipse by looking through them as Venus eclipsed the face of the sun. So having just watched this very compelling piece of film about the esoteric themes of alchemy and the transformations in consciousness that take place during times of cosmic alignments, It was a very timely synchronicity that I was now going to be witnessing this celestial alignment of Venus eclipsing the Sun through what seemed to be a small black rectangular monolith. As I witnessed this eclipse, I felt my consciousness sinking further into an altered state that had obviously begun some hours earlier, and I began to ponder these alchemical themes. The knowledge of the philosopher's stone represented by this tiny black monolith through which I was witnessing the eclipse, along with the central tenets of alchemy, the transformation of the consciousness of the seeker, gifting complete gnosis or knowledge of the immortality of the soul, overcoming physical death and being reborn, the knowledge that life is eternal, having no beginning or end. So, today, as these celestial conjunctions are taking place and a cosmic umbilical cord to the center of the galaxy is potentially being reconnected through the sun and into the ley lines of the earth, I hope that this presentation may awaken you further to be of value to you in understanding your own personal alchemy, as well as that being undertaken within the collective of Earth. Thank you. If you wish to journey with more episodes of Future Self Dreaming, please hit the subscribe button. Information about booking counselling sessions and workshops can be found via the website futureselfdreaming.com, and you can follow Future Self Dreaming on Instagram and Facebook. In Lakesh.